Hi, everybody.
We're back.
Please like and subscribe.
What he said. And this time I brought some notes. Ooh. I have a Maxime Jouhan Chevalier from Quora. I was looking up what are the best support groups for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and Quora came up with this. So I'll try and put a link, but if not, if you can look them up on Quora, and it gives
Spell Quora.
Q-U-O-R-A, Quora. And I hope I spelled it right, but if I didn't, I will put it on the link below. And it really brought out some good information that I missed in videos, but I read it after the fact, after I'd gotten into other groups, other cult-like groups. And I really encourage you to read the article. It was very helpful. Just a side note, I do not have any association with any Christian groups whatsoever. No ExJW Christian groups at all. So I just want to put that out there. In fact, I'm not affiliated at all with any sort of Christian group. Not ExJWs, nothing. So.
Good, now you know.
Now you know.
For sure. Cool.
Yep.
Ina thought we might talk about dysfunctional families today. I know in one of our other videos we touched upon it a little bit, but not much. But yeah, we both grew up with dysfunctional families. And the videos that you see on jw.support, where everybody's happy and pursuing spiritual goals like pioneering and being a Bethelite, those aren't realistic. They really aren't. And then every time the Watchtower Society puts out a video where somebody leaves the organization, like a child, adult child leaves the organization, he's always vilified, made out to be the bad guy, angry, bitter for some reason. You know, it's possible that you just realize that you were raised in a cult and you don't want to be in a cult anymore, and you're a happy, well-rounded person. Maybe you educated yourself and you want to be happier, and so you left the cult. That's probably more of what's going on, which is why the Jehovah's Witnesses are making more jw.org videos about how people are leaving. They're trying to frame it as they're angry, bitter apostates who've been led astray by Satan's system. Yeah, that's not true. That's not true. I always told, the simplest explanation is probably the right one. So yeah, life has a lot of gray area, but there's a lot of black and white too, a lot of right and wrong. And we live in a time, like I've said before, where we hold all of the knowledge of mankind in our pockets on a little 5-inch by 3-inch device. All of it. All of it. And that includes the history of religion, the invention of God, how religions got started, how the current Bible as we know it was put together, why it was put together that way. All of this. We have all of this. So to be anything other than educated on any given subject is to be in denial about that subject, if you want to believe anything other than the truth about that subject. We started out with dysfunctional families, but then it turned into the unrealistic videos that jw.org puts out about family life within the organization. I know in my family, my father was a non-believer, but he didn't put too much effort into learning about Jehovah's Witnesses. He just thought that my mom was in a religion And that's fine, harmless. He didn't understand. My mom didn't talk about it very much. I'm sure before I was born, my mom was a witness 8 years before I was born. No, 11 years before I was born. She'd been baptized for 8 years before I was born. Also, I'm sure she tried to talk my dad into being a Jehovah's Witness, but he smoked and he drank, and so he just figured he couldn't do it. So my mom left it alone, and so that made for an uncomfortable upbringing. And then Ina had a very bad
I had an interesting one.
upbringing.
Yeah, I was really dysfunctional. And so I thought when I married my husband that his family was much more functional than mine. His mother was a regular meeting attender. I didn't really know the background of his mom and dad's marriage. And I didn't really know the background of the family. Like, he didn't know my background, which is normal when you get married to someone. You have two different, altogether different families. So in the Jehovah's Witness culture, the institution of marriage is very, I would say, it's kind of prison-like. You know, it's a nice, I think it's great if you can get along with somebody and if you get to know them properly. But if you don't know them and the backgrounds of their families, which most Jehovah's Witnesses really, they don't talk about their families, their immediate families and different things that are happening to them. Because I know circuit overseers and their children have depression, and it's kind of put under the rug. They don't talk about the child that has depression and had left the organization and married a Mormon, but they talk about the one that is doing well and did marry a witness and now is married to an elder, and they're both pioneering, and they have kids that are baptized at 9 years old. And yeah, so part of the family that doesn't meet that criteria or doesn't look like the part usually gets left off, and they don't even talk about them. They don't exist. Jason's mom and dad were good people, and I enjoyed being around them together. They were happy and they joked. I knew there was an underlying sadness for his mom because she felt that Bob should have been, could have come into the truth, into the so-called truth. And it was hard for her. My mother didn't ever feel like she was part of in the organization because my dad was disfellowship for many years. And then when he did come back into the organization after many years, he had depression and he was still an alcoholic. He had to suffer through his alcoholism without being honest with people around him who wouldn't accept it as as trauma and as an addiction. As most traumas, when someone has a trauma, their addictions, they have a hard time getting rid of them the way the family members around them want them to. So it takes a lot of patience. And my mom wasn't necessarily very patient, and neither was the congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses with my father. So it affected our marriage when we got married because there were a lot of negative things that we saw in our family's marriages. So it made it difficult for me because I had a certain expectation of how things were going to go for us as a couple. Like I expected something, and he expected, well, really nothing. He didn't have an expectation. And I thought, okay, well, we're going to be married, and then he'll be a ministerial servant, and then an elder, and then, right? And it didn't turn out that way.
I thought that there was something wrong with me. I wanted those things when I was young. But I thought there was something wrong with me. Because from the time I was 12, 13 years old, I saw things that were weird. I saw people in the world getting along. I saw worldly, secular organizations that were very, what's the word? Very charitable, philanthropic. What's the word I was looking for? Philanthropic. People that did actual good for people they didn't even know around the world, providing food, medicine, things like that. I saw organizations like that in the world. And so I saw nothing like that from Jehovah's Witnesses. And that always confused me because I thought that we were supposed to be the best people in the world, right? The most loving people in the world. I didn't see that. So I didn't understand why I didn't understand. But so I guess I just never believed it enough to want to reach out to be a minister, a servant, or an elder. And I felt that if you were going to reach out for those titles, I'll call them titles, when I was a witness, it would have been called privileges because that's cult speak. But the reason I never reached out for those titles was because I wasn't committed. And I wasn't committed because I didn't see good enough. I didn't see even Jehovah's Witnesses doing things that other churches did, like providing food and shelter for the homeless, battered women's shelters. I didn't see Jehovah's Witnesses doing anything like that. They even want poor people to pay them. They don't want to pay poor people. So I just never got it, and I'm glad I never got it. But looking back now, I know I did get it. I did see what was really going on. And so I'm glad. I'm glad that I had that window to the outside world. And I could use my reasoning and logic to say, hey, this is right and this is wrong. Even though I'm being told this is right and this is wrong. So what it takes is just going with it. Going with your gut. Going with what you see. Going with what you feel.
And I never really felt any of that. I never really let myself think that those things. I thought it was Jehovah's organization. And so I knew that there was a lot of divisions within our families, within our immediate families. There really was a lot of division. There was a family member that had left the organization, and even the family members that were in the organization, they didn't get along with the ones that were in the organization as well. So, and it wasn't just imperfection, right? They say, oh, well, it's because it's imperfection and we have to overlook things. Well, I wasn't even given an opportunity to look to the other side to see that there was no difference. So Satan's world, right? And then Jehovah's Witness world, the organization, it's the man-made organization, that is still organized religion, because they would always identify Satan's world with organized religion, but they use the same words, organized,
organized religion,
organized organization.
Right.
So, I mean, they use the same words, but you have to stay away from it to understand it a little better. And I know that I just recently got a comment on a woman who they've come out, a couple such as like us. It's very easy to jump right into a group. I did that and try and catch God. I thought, okay, well, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not the truth. So then there has to be something else out there. And when I saw divisions even in the little cult group of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and how they were arguing about military people not getting involved, not having gay people, or what the rules were going to be about having gay people involved. Feminism was looked down upon by the older men that were overlooking it all. I got to see more division, and people who had been there for 4 years, and they were still bickering over certain texts and acts. And I'm glad that I saw all those things in the few weeks that I was there. Then I saw inappropriate behavior that was done by an older man to one of the women, and then all of a sudden the group is like, oh, that's so wonderful, you found love. And then the next thing you know, marriage is defined in a different way. I realized, oh, wait a minute, Stephen Hassan's book, Combating Cult Mind Control, and how things get twisted in a small group, in large groups, as Jehovah's Witnesses. I really encourage you to get that book, Combating Cult Mind Control by Stephen Hassan. There are certain identifying marks that you can see in cult-like groups. And it's unfortunate that it just continues to leak into other ways, other groups made. I think the intention is that they have good intentions, but then it can easily go a different route quickly if there's an agenda. And also, if somebody's asking you for money, there's a big, huge question mark as to why they're asking you for money. You shouldn't have to give money. There's so many educated, helpful people on YouTube, and they don't ask for money. Dr. Ramani, Dr. Mate, these are individuals that are well known in their field of study, and they're very helpful to people for free. They don't ask for money. If you want to get involved in their groups, you can, and I'm sure it does cost money, but everything usually is done for free. They're giving it to you. So those are some of the things that have happened to me. I had to take a good look at what I was into. It took some time. So that did affect, it affects the progress of getting out as one of Jehovah's Witnesses out of this organization. So I think I would have been, it's good to stay away from everything that looks questionable. And if it sounds questionable, just don't jump in. Just kind of sit back and observe. That's something I wish I would have done. Follow your bliss.
Be good humans.
Be good humans.
And if you come around, feed me. Okay. Bye, everybody.